When the roof started leaking, I begged them to fix it. When the aircon sprayed water, I pleaded. When the mold grew black outside my bedroom, I warned them. But when they still didn't care, I made sure they spent every last cent of the rent I paid them. And then, if you've ever been disrespected by someone in power as someone who thought they could ignore you without consequence, then stay tuned. This isn't just a revenge story. It's a masterclass in calm, calculated payback. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let's get into it. When we first toured the townhouse, it looked fine. Basic. But neat. The kind of place where you tell yourself, we can make this work. We were moving cities, new jobs, new routines, and honestly, we just needed a roof over our heads. The location was good. The price? Not cheap, but tolerable for the area. The online photos looked fresh. Clean carpets. Decent kitchen. Everything seemed in working order. But the moment we moved in, it all started to fall apart. Literally. The garage leaked every time it rained. Not just a drip. I'm talking about steady streams of water trickling down the concrete walls, turning the basement into a moldy dungeon. The roof was a disaster. You could feel the heat pressing down in summer and the chill slicing through in winter. No insulation. No moisture barrier. No buttons. Just metal sheets screwed straight into the trusses. It wasn't just lazy, it was dangerous. Worst of all? The air conditioning unit. It looked like it had lived through 3 decades of dust storms and chain smoking. Yellowed plastic. Cracked casing. When you turned it on, it didn't cool. It hissed, leaked water, and blew around lukewarm air like a hairdryer. It would drip onto us while we sat on the couch. Disgusting. At first, I was polite. Respectful. I called the agent and said, "Hey, the aircon isn't really working. Could you please have someone look at it?" No reply. A few days later, I followed up by email. Still nothing. Week 2, I left another voicemail. Week 3, I got a short message. "We've contacted the owner. Awaiting their decision." That was the last I heard. 3 weeks in 30+8°C weather. I have a heart condition that makes heat not just uncomfortably but dangerous. The longer they ignored me, the angrier I got. But I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I didn't curse. Instead, I started planning. If they wanted to ignore me like I was nothing, I'd become the most expensive, high-maintenance, compliance-demanding tenant they'd. I wrote a formal notice to the agent. As someone with a medical condition, the broken aircon is a health hazard. If it's not replaced within 7 days, I will file a formal complaint with the RTA and submit supporting documents from my GP. Suddenly, things moved very fast. The landlord caved. But not in the way they expected. See, they didn't want to spend money. So they bought a larger aircon modulo one that didn't fit the wall cutout. Which meant extra installation costs, electrical rewiring, structural reinforcement. By trying to cut corners, they ended up paying more. I had won round 1. And I was just getting started. After that, I started inspecting the house like a safety auditor. One of the wall plugs sparked. When I checked closer, it had black residue around the socket. Cue my email. Exposed charring around electrical socket. Possible fire hazard. I'll be requesting a certified inspection. They had no choice but to send out a licensed electrician who not only replaced the outlet, but had to test the whole house and issue a certificate of compliance. More money. More frustration. Next. The burnt plastic smell from the living room ceiling. The culprit? A melted-down light transformer. I documented it with photos and requested full replacement of all ceiling transformers, 15 in total. They tried to argue. So I sent them the fire hazard laws for rental properties. I copied in the RTA for good measure. They gave in. Again. 15 new transformers. Another compliance inspection. More receipts. At this point, I'm sure the landlords started hating my name showing up in their inbox. Next came the ants. Hundreds of them. In the kitchen. Crawling along the bench tops and into cupboards. I used a tip from Reddit and called pest control. Told the agent, ant infestation poses a food safety risk. I'll report it to council if not resolved. They sent out a full team to spray a chemical barrier inside and outside. While they were still licking those wounds, I hit them with the next one. See, their listing had shown curtains in every room. But there weren't any when we moved in. I submitted a notice to remedy breach for misrepresentation. You have 7 days to comply, or I'll escalate to the RTA. You want to see a landlord cry? Make them install custom curtains throughout the townhouse on short notice. Thousands. Gone. Then I went after the roof. The crown jewel of negligence. I told the agent, very calmly and very clearly. You are now on written notice that the roof is non-compliant, with no cavity, insulation, or moisture barrier. As per sales regulations, this must be disclosed to all future buyers unless remedied. Translation? They couldn't legally sell the house without either fixing the roof, tens of thousands, or telling buyers about it, which would crush the property value. And since it was now on written record, they couldn't pretend they didn't know. Permanent damage. I didn't even need them to fix it. Just needed to make it a liability. 6 months into this long, delicious battle, we had our exit ticket. We'd finally bought our own home. No more renting. No more agents. No more begging. And no more mercy. I handed in my break lease notice in 2 weeks' time. They would now lose rent while finding a new tenant. Pay for new advertising. Face delays in income. Just before we moved out, they sent a cheery request. Hi. Could you please tidy the garden before handover? I smiled. Then poured a mixture of salt, concentrated vinegar, and industrial weed killer across the entire lawn and flower beds. It looked clean. But good luck growing anything there again. Then came the best part. They'd never billed us for water. So on the very last day, they tried to hit us with 7 months of charges. But I had proof. Emails from month 1 where I asked about it. Agent replied, "We're still waiting on the owner to send us the bills." Under law, they can't charge for any water bill older than 4 weeks. And to charge for even that, they must provide certificates proving the house is water efficient. Guess what they didn't have? Any of that. So they gave up. Final score? Them, thousands spent. A ruined roof disclosure. Months of stress. No water bill paid. Me? I walked away cool, calm, and victorious. All they had to do was fix the aircon. Instead, they treated me like I didn't matter. Like I was just another rent check. What they didn't expect. I knew the laws. I kept every receipt. I documented everything. In the end, I made sure they spent every dollar I gave Emma and more. They thought silence was power. Turns out, paperwork is. Revenge doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be violent. Sometimes, the most devastating payback is simply making someone be responsible for the mess they've ignored. If you're renting and your landlord doesn't care, you'll learn your rights. The system might be flawed, but knowledge is your best weapon. And trust me, broken bar, they hate when tenants know the rules. If you found this story satisfying, drop a comment below. What's the worst landlord experience you've had? Or tell me, what would you have done in my shoes? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next story. Because sometimes karma needs a little help. And we're here to deliver.